In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
In this week of Easter, where we celebrate the resurrection of Christ, let us pray for all those who are deprived from peace and security, and they are persecuted for their faith. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom,
Pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
So tonight we have to cover two subjects, the ends of human life, and the second part will be the voluntariness. And for voluntariness, I gave you pages from Father Fagotti. By the way, Father Austin Fagotti, it's a book you should have, especially if you continue to study fundamental moral with Father Melody. It is excellent, excellent. Huh? Father Austin Fagotti. Jesus. Right and Medicine. It is published, the second edition. The second edition is published by Can. So you have that Can reedited the second edition. Personally, I prefer the third edition because the Father Fagotti changed completely his approach. In the second edition, Father Fagotti follows St. Thomas. He starts from the eternal law, natural law, and he goes to the conscience. Huh? If you want, from objective morality to subjective morality. That is the approach of that is conformed to the Summa. But the other edition, I think there is 13th edition, the other edition, the contrary, it begins by subjective conscience, the phenomenon of conscience, the phenomenon of value, etc., the good. And little by little, he goes to natural law and to eternal law. So that is the approach. But anyway, for you, that book is excellent because it follows the theological, la Summa Theology. So it is not difficult to read. You know, you have now a lot of concepts. You are prepared to read easily that book. It's not, they are not. And for the faculty, it's very simple. The way he writes, you know, he's a teacher. As a teacher, normally we try to be understood by the student. Okay, so I go to the text of Father Wallace here. Number 51, the ends of human action. So the end are final cause. So when we study the metaphysics, the causality, we saw that there are intrinsic causality and extrinsic causality. Causes, okay, and extrinsic. And you remember, intrinsic, we have matter and form, material and form. Matter and form. And the extrinsic, we saw that the efficient and final. And now, in the efficient, we distinguish principle and instrumental. And St. Thomas had another instrumental. He had another one we call it exemplary. Huh? Exemplary. Model. Okay. So, in every action, well, there is an object, something, huh? A matter. In every action, we do something. Okay? And there is a specificity to that action. And we are the one who produced the action, and there is a finality. So, what is the most important cause among the four causes? Final cause. And the final cause, or the end, is the most important. Why? Because the end is at the beginning and at the end. On the level of knowledge or intention, the end is at the beginning. If there is no end, no goal, no motivation, we don't arrive to something. And on the level of execution, the end is here. And the end is everywhere here. Because continually, when you are doing something, you are acting because there is an end. So the end is fundamental in metaphysics, especially in ethics. Because the motivation and the end is called the cause of causes, causa causarum in Latin. And nowhere is the action more applicable than the study of the human action. For a knowledge of the end of man activity confers a greatest intelligibility to the human act itself. That means we cannot understand the morality of an act if we don't have to be aware of the end, making that man do that act. Why he did that? When there is a murder, the detective, what they try to find from what they see, they try to find a motive. Why? Because the motive will explain the rest. And knowing the motive, they will find finally the one who did the action. So what is the definition of it? What is an end? The end may be defined as the object by virtue of which an event of service or series happen is said to take place. That means, in class, I don't like too much the word object. I would prefer, it is that. It is that. An objective here, the word object means not something material. Object meaning more the meaning of objective, something we are tending toward to. That. By virtue of which an event or series of event happens, to take place. So every event, every fact, it takes place. For example, this desk here, this table, this camcorder, and you here. Everything is a fact. We exist, and because we exist, there must be a reason for that. A sufficient reason. Sufficient reason can be the efficient cause, but are you satisfied to know the efficient cause? No, we want to know why. Why that exists? Why did? For example, suppose your granddaughter asks you, grandfather, papi, who did that? You have a doll, beautiful doll, of course made in China, and and you know, maybe the doll can speak, can talk. You push here, and the doll talks in English, with a Chinese accent. So, but maybe she asks you, who did that? In fact, she would ask, why? A boy always searches the reason why something is there. For example, many times in the past, some not now, the boy not he play with, but they play with their sisters, and sometimes they play as a surgeon. So they open the belly of their sister with the belly of the doll, to see why the doll is crying. Why? You know, all the time we are searching for a reason. Because the end is linked with the intelligibility of the fact. There is no intelligibility of a fact if there is no end. In fact, not a single fact can happen, can exist, nothing can exist without a finality. Nothing exists at random. Everything has a sufficient reason. Okay, so I continue. definition. It is, in this sense, it is the same as final cause. The final cause is that for the sake of which something exists who is done. Now, everything exists because there is a that. That for which an agent acts or action takes place. If, in fact, we cannot explain the reality without a final end. But it is interesting in science, today many philosophers linked with science, they say there is no finality. We cannot know the finality because the finality is not in the thing. It is true. You know, for example, think about a disease, AIDS, for example, or think about a mosquito, etc. You know, can a scientist really find the end of everything? He can find the proximate end, but we cannot go farther than that. That means that the finality is very limitation in science. We know the finality through the usage of a thing, but the usage of a thing has another finality. For example, a technician produces a saw to cut wood. En fait, the saw is to cut the wood. Now, why we cut the wood? You know, to produce something. Why you produce something? Etc., etc., etc. And we cannot measure everything, we cannot control. So it's the reason why some philosophers, modern, they say, we cannot speak about finality. And many reject St. Thomas and Aristotle because of that. Because it is Aristotle. But Aristotle, when he speaks about finality, is not a scientist, he is a philosopher. Don't forget, metaphysics is the research for the ultimate causes. That means beyond nature, beyond physics. That means we try to go farther than what we observe. Of course, if we go farther than we observe, the conclusion we have cannot be measured. They are only deduced. Okay? So the four elements. First, in every end, we have a terminus, a terminal nature. A causal aspect. That means the finality is the end is not only the end objective we attain. I go to New York, for example. When I am in New York, I can say I attain my end to be in New York. But it's not enough. Why I go to New York, you know? That end is causal, is causing all the movement. When I say the end is at the beginning, because the end here is present in the mind and of the person and the will of the person who will attain. And all the means here are to attain the end. So that we can say the end is really called, possesses a real cause. It is a factor of causality. It's a real cause. A real cause. Its identity with the good. Another thing, if we have an end, because we see some good in that end, I will speak about that in a few minutes. And finally, if I tend toward an end, from the conception, the decision to the execution, all that are the means used to attain the end. So now we have to study that in more detail. First, the terminal nature of the end. As terminal, the end is simply the outcome, the result or goal of what an agent does and seeks. So the end has attained. Here, the end has attained. So the end has moving, the end has obtained. Okay? And as such, the end terminates his movement toward the goal. So when I arrive at my destination, it is the end. You know, for me, the end is, it reminds me my childhood. Sometimes we were not very rich, but I have my mother's sister, my aunt, give me 10 cents. It was a big gift 10 cents at that time, huge. So I was able to go to the movie. There was a parish, St. Stanislaus parish, and they have a theater, and they give movie to the boy. So the boy go there instead of going to the theater with bad movies. So what the saddest moment of the movie, you know what it was written? The end. The end. My 10 cents is finished. But in fact, I should not be sad. If I was at that time a real philosopher and say, I am happy because I realized fully my 10 cents now give me what I wanted. I remember I was sad. So finished. It's the same. You know, in my family we were many children, 6 at that time, and my father every Sunday gave us 5 cents. It was 5 cents our pocket money for Sunday. So we keep our 5 cents very. And finally, in the middle of the afternoon, we say, okay, you have to use something. So we went to the restaurant and we buy a metal roll. You remember ice cream as a tube. 5 cents. And when it was finished, sad. It's a proof that nothing can satisfy our happiness on earth. Okay, so the terminal, that is the first one, a terminal. Did I speak about my aunt? I have an aunt, she was a bachelor, a good woman, but she was original. And she liked to read novels, but only the good novels. The novel, if I told that to you, maybe? No? The novel who finished well. So what she used to do, when she took a novel, she read the last chapter. So if the novel finished well, she will. Well, if the novel finished not well, one is killed, etc. No. The end. It's interesting. The end was moving her to read the whole book.
That's funny.
Interesting. The first time I used that example, you know, I never thought about that. Tante Teresa. Okay. So I go to the next paragraph and I continue. Excuse me. Even when the goal aimed at is action, as when one plays simply for the action involved in playing, the end in this case is the action itself. Completes the action survive. For example, if I play solitaire for the pleasure of the fun of playing solitaire, you know, it is an end, you know. Sometimes the end can be united with the action itself. I jog because I like to jog, you know. Of course, I can jog to lose weight, but there is a pleasure even in the action of jogging or swimming, etc. Okay? Sometimes the people say, I do that because I like that, you know. So there is a kind of identity between the action itself, will, and the end of the action. In fact, in every action, when we do something, we will the action. I cannot will an action without will the action itself. That means, we say that in a few minutes, the end can be, if you want, the action is to attain the end, and the end, sometimes they are one, they are one. I will speak about the end of the worker, the end of the work. We come back on that. That is only the beginning, okay? Even when the goal aimed at it, okay. The end, in this case, is the action itself. I like that. I play card because I don't play card to have money. I play card because I like to play card, you know, okay? So the next paragraph, the causal aspect of the end. As causal, the end is what is first intended and exercise a determining influence over the action leading up to the goal. So I explained that already, and I go to the next page. So the final cause is at the beginning and at the end of the operation. The final cause is at the beginning. It can be a subject for your reflection, to demonstrate the very great importance of the end, the intention, the motive. Okay. Somewhat paradoxically, that which is final in the sphere of action is the cause of all the activity leading up to it. So, it is the final cause. In fact, the final cause, the end, and the final cause is moving everything. Final cause is moving everything. Is the reason why in the economy, in trade, what is important is advertising. Advertising is giving, it is to give to people a final cause. So they move them to Walmart, they move them to Target, they will move them to Kmart to buy something, That is, in fact, we insist on the end to provoke the action of the people. So, in fact, the end is, I would say, omnipresent. It's present at the end, it's present at the beginning, it's present at every step of what we are doing. You are here tonight to study. You have a final cause. The final cause to become a permanent deacon, for example, is moving you. And if you are attentive, tonight, instead of being in front of television or your great children, you are with a teacher of philosophy who try to make you understand the importance of the end. Every action, that is universal. That in spiritual life, the extreme importance of the intention, the motivation. Why I am that. Education, what is education? It is to try to motivate the children to do something by themselves. That is formation, human formation. As long as we force a child to do that, to do something, is not. When the child arrives to able to act by himself, to take a good decision by himself, we try to motivate him to do that. We cannot take his place. No? So we try to give to the child a final cause. No? It is true for everything. No? It is true for every action we enter. In politics, we are beginning now the electoral campaign for 2016. What is advertising? Everything. It is to motivate people to vote for a candidate. Now, the next paragraph. The identity of N and with the good. As good, the N gives the reason why, the motive, the reason why, the motive. The agent tends to it or will it. So, why do we act? Why do you do anything? Because there is some good. Well, here I come back to metaphysics. So it will be a review for your examination. No, we pass examination metaphysics. Okay. So being is one. Being is true, or being is good. True being intelligible, known by an intellect, we know being. When I know a being, I know the truth. But I know also in the being there is a good. That means when the being exists, there must be a good in the being. There must be a good. So that means when we take a decision, when we are acting for a good. All the object of my will is necessarily something good. Maybe not perfectly good, but partially good. And what I want is the good. And when a man goes to suicide, he does not want the death in itself. He wants to be freed from his suffering, And when somebody is drinking too much, it is to forget his problem, etc. Okay. So the reason why. And thus the N and good necessarily involve each other. N and good. So we can say the good of the being is the reason. When I tend toward an N, I tend toward the good. Why? You remember the object of the will, voluntas? Ut natura and voluntas ut libera. The will as nature. The will as nature tend necessary to the good, and the will as free tend also to this good. Not to the perfect good, but to this good, to a good. We can will, we can tend toward a thing, and then only because we discover in the end some good. So we can say the end is good, and any good can be an end. Any good can be. There is a reciprocity between them. We cannot separate them. Number two, the desirability of the end. Why we are attracted? Because there is something good. And what is good? It is desirable. Object of the desirable. Pleasant, desirable. We want to have it because we are attracted by the good there is in the being. Is the very reason why the good is a cause and the desirability. Good is said correlatively to appetite. You remember we have two kinds of appetites. We have sense appetite and intellective appetite. Intellective appetite, we call that the will. In sense appetite, any appetite has appetite for a good. We can say the good is the end of an appetite. The end of an appetite. It is so true that when you satisfy your appetite, it is the end. when I ate my ice cream, I made a run on Sunday, when I was 9 years old, my appetite was satisfied. Because I said, next week I have to come back. But it was at the end. I attained the end. Remember the end? You should use tonight, if you have the chart of St. Thomas, the 12 actions. We use that a lot. We are tending toward a good, toward an end. So the good, the end are convertible. Okay? And such a concept of good is obviously wider than the moral good. Here we are not only in the moral good, we are in the ontological aspect of good, the transcendental. You remember that, the transcendental. The one, the good, and the true are transcendental. I mean, everywhere there is being, there is one true unity, truth, and good. But here we are on the level of morality. So number three, man has different level of appetite, sense appetite, we saw that, and intellectual appetite, the will. And that is the level of morality. The level of morality. Because when I speak about the will, I speak also about the intellect, because the will cannot act without the intellect. It must benefit man as man. It must be suitable to the whole person. That means when a man wants something good, desirable, that thing must fit to his own person. Must be good for his body and his soul. You know, the whole person. If it is not good for the whole person, it is not moral. Why? Because man must act as he is. I must act according to my nature. What is the nature? The essence as principle of activity. And what are the most important activity in man, making man a part animal, is intellect and his will. And when man acts using his intellect and his will, he is acting morally. That is ethics. Ethics, moral. So I continue the text. Man has different level, okay? 4. And final cause and good, and final cause and good are identical, are seen as identical. To have a good end, to tend toward the good, or to have a final cause, all that. We use many words to express the same reality. So the final cause is the end. That end is a good. Okay? So end, why? We call that end because it is the term of the agent striving. We fight to arrive to the end. It is the final cause. Why? Because that cause influences the agent in all his action, from the beginning to the end. And finally, good because it indicates why the agent is moved. Why I am attracted toward the end. Because I see in the end something good for me. When I say good here, I mean something adapted, respecting my human person, my nature, as a rational animal. For example, you know, I must act according to my human nature, not only with my will and my intellect, but also with my body. If you go, maybe I told that to you, if you go to New York at the top of the Empire State Building, I decide suddenly that I am a bird, a condor. I jump in the air. I act against my human nature. I'm not a bird. No? So when we act against our animality, we are immoral. No? Animals, they can control themselves. Man cannot control himself. You know, animals, when they drink, they stop. But man is able to put more and more. And the ramen were horrible. The ramen, you know, when you visit some amphitheater in Rome or in Nîmes, we have what they call a place called a vomitorium. Vomit, you know what is that?
Yes.
Vomitorium. That means they ate, and after that they went to the vomitorium, and after that they purify with perfume, and they continue. That is true. But when they do that, they are worse than a pig. Never a pig will do that. That is gluttony. And drunkenness, you know, drunkenness, it is why? Because we are like an animal, we are losing our reasons. So to be a moral, for man to attain his end, as a human being, he must respect his nature. And his nature is, at the same time, to be an animal and to be rational. And that is not separated, it's the same, because when I eat not only with my mouth, I eat with my intellect, my love, that means every action I do consciously, if I do that according to my nature, is a moral action. Here you see the importance of the concept of nature. But since Descartes' nature is more, not the same meaning of St. Thomas or Aristotle, it's more in the meaning of the scientist today. We can explain everything to the law of nature, like a big mechanic, it's a big mechanic, a big machine. That the idea comes from Descartes. Next paragraph. The relation of the end to means now. That means can we have an end without excluding means? It will be contradictory. So when I have an end, I decide to do something. Number 6, you remember in the analysis of St. Thomas, when I decide, immediately I have to take the means. They are going together. All those are one. When I take a decision to tend toward an end, immediately I must accept and will at the same time the means. It will be contradictory to see. I will to do that, but I will take no means. It is stupid. When I take a decision to do something, I have to take the means. Well, some students, sometimes not here, of course. Somewhere they want to succeed. But, you know, they want to succeed, but they go to Florida, they drink like pigs, and they have fun, and after that they come pass their exam. They don't take the means. You know, that is immoral. In fact, when you take a decision, you have to use the means to attain, the good means, of course, we see that now. That means the end is inseparable from the means. We cannot make a separation. We cannot say, for example, okay, I decide to kill that man, but I will take no means to do that. That is contradictory, no? If you decide, you have to do the means. No, we cannot separate the decision to attain an end, the decision number 6, from the decision of the choice of the means. That is the message here in this paragraph. Huh? So related to means, the end specify why something else exists. The something else refers to the means. A means are a reason only in relation with an end. A means is only. And that is interesting. This morning I have a class about economy. And economy, money is a means. Is a means, it's not an end. Huh? And what is immoral? It is to take a means as an end. To adore money. Huh? To make money the end of my life, etc. Okay? So a means cannot be understood without referring to the end, in view of which it is chosen. That is common sense, big common sense. But many times, unfortunately, people, they will, number 6, they will to do something, but they have not the courage to take the means. Let us give an example. For instance, someone who smokes. He say, oh no, I want to stop. But they continue to go to the store and to buy cigarettes, If you want to stop, you have to do something to stop, We must be consequent with our decision. And many times we are not always consequent. And when the means are not taken after a decision, it is, I will say, it is an immoral action. It is immoral. For example, you take the decision to do something good, or because you are obliged to do that, but you don't take the means. You have to study. You send your child to study in a college to succeed. When you pay for that, you want your child to study. And if every weekend he goes to the bar and he spends the night drinking and dancing and other things also. So he is not taking the means to attain the end. It's funny sometimes things very simple are not put into practice by some people. It is simple, no? If I want to attain an end, I must use the means. Why? Because we are not courageous, we are not faithful, we are weak. Weak. That is a weakness of the flesh. That means we have good intention, but we don't put that into practice. In French, we have an expression. We say, "L'enfer est pavé de bonnes intentions." The hell is paved with good intention. You say that in English also? No. That means a lot of good intention, but they never are so. Okay. What attracts the engine to the mean is not so much its nature, but the values or the achieving of the end. Why I am attracted to an end, and what I am motivated to use the means, because I see a value. I see a good, I see a reason to achieve the end. Otherwise, what the agent sees and seeks in the mean is basically the goodness of the end. In fact, everything, when I take a decision, because I see there is something good for me, some valuable, that is being. Okay? Well, now the various kind of end. Well, it's interesting, there is a remark at the top of page 372. Sometimes a thing may be an end on one respect and a means in another. For example, suppose to become a priest is an end, or to become a permanent deacon is an end. At the same time, to be a priest is a means for to give the grace to the people, So, at a point of view, something can be a mean. At another point of view, something can be an end. But of course, a mean can never become the final end. It can be temporary. For example, when you are going to go to New York, you start from Cromwell, you pass through Middletown, you consider New Haven. So every step of the is an end. It is an end. But if you don't pass through those steps, then you will not arrive to New York. So, in fact, every step is an end. At the same time, every step is a means. I have to, if I want to go to New York, I have to pass to New Haven. That is a step in my decision. But to be in New Haven is a means to arrive to New York. So that the same, there is no absolute mean, absolute end. The only absolute end is the final end, eternal. All the other are relative. That means all the other can be used as means, except the human person, of course. For example, you study to prepare an examination at the end of April. That is the end. But that end is only a mean. To become a deacon. You understand that, okay? So, next paragraph. The first division, we can have a proximate end, that is for the sake of which something is done directly, immediately. For example, here, tonight, you are here to try to understand the chapter on paragraph 51 and 52. That is, and you don't think about, I will be ordained a deacon in 3 years. No, you are to understand, okay? Intermediate end, that in view of which the proximate end is sought. For example, you are here tonight to study, to become a deacon. Okay? Well, after that you can say, why I become a deacon? To preach the word of God. Why I have to preach the word of God? Because, etc., etc. Finally, eternal life, at the end. Okay? And the intermediate end itself is desired for something else. For example, to become a priest to save souls, and to save souls for the glory of God, etc. So both proximate and intermediate end are also means. They are ends, but they are also means. So to pass an examination, to succeed again, is an end, but at the same time it is a means. Okay? Now the last end, well, the ultimate end, can be relatively ultimate or absolutely ultimate. Relatively ultimate. And the last end in the series. For example, you can say my last end as a student here is to become a deacon. Suppose, or a priest, or a social worker. Okay? That is relatively. It's not final, it's not ultimate. But the absolutely is the supreme end. In fact, there is only one supreme end, it's the glory of God. It's God Himself. Even if I want for my salvation, finally my salvation is not only for myself, it's for the glory of God. Okay? So, and this ultimate end is sought for His own sake alone. And in the case of man, what is our ultimate end? By nature, we're tending toward the perfect good, the perfect happiness. Of course, in ethics, we cannot say the perfect happiness is God. But when you unite that to metaphysics, we can affirm that the perfect happiness, the perfect good is God, and the perfect happiness is the vision of God, the enjoyment of God. But we know that through revelation. We cannot say that directly as a philosopher. As a philosopher, I cannot speak about the eternal vision. But because I am a Christian, I can say now, what we say in philosophy as ultimate end is eternal vision. I don't affirm eternal vision through my philosophy, but my faith confirms the philosophy, my philosophy. So, now the second division, objective end, but I will not insist too much on that because that is a little bit touchy. But anyway, we say finis qui in Latin, nominative. It is the objective, the good, the object, what is attained. What is attained? Can be reputation, honor, success, money, power, dominion, knowledge, etc. The second is the personal end. Finis cui. Cui in Latin is that's it. That's it means for the interest of the person. Did you study Latin? Nobody studied that. Okay. So that's it. That to die, to give to someone. That is the person for whom the good is desired. For example, health is sought for Peter. And finally, the formal end, or finis qua, it is the ablative in Latin, the means I use. It is the act in which the good is possessed and enjoyed. It is the 14th part of the 12th part of the analysis of St. Thomas. Enjoyment. Enjoyment. Well, don't forget that part, okay? Because it's difficult. But the third is not difficult. It is important. The division between the end of the work and the end of the worker. That it will be used many times. Maybe I already explained that. It is a classical division in ethics. So the end of the work and the end of the worker. Or if you want in Latin, finis operis, opera, work, operis, finis operandis, the one who is working. Why I give that in Latin? Because some book, they give that in Latin, so it's not necessary for salvation, but it can be useful. It can be useful. So what is the end of the work? Call also sometimes the end of the act. The end of the act, the work of the end of the act. In fact, the act of the willing is the normal purpose or function of a thing of action, or the result normally achieved. For example, cutting is the normal function of a knife. A carpenter who did this pulpit, or this table, or this door, etc., he did a work. The end of his work was not to make a pantry, it was to make a table. It was to make a chair. Okay? That is the end of the work. What is the end of my work now is to make you understand ethics. That is the end of the work. Okay? Now, the end of the worker. The worker, when he is working, when the carpenter is making a desk or a table or a door, he does that also for other end, for the other purpose. He is married, therefore he has to take care of his wife and his children, to send them to university, to have some vacation, etc. He can work also for to have the golden medal of the best carpenter, or he can work many reasons added to the work. For example, we give a poor person asks you, oh, give me something because I have to eat, etc. Okay. Well, you can give money, because the money you give, for example, $5. $5 is for satisfying his fundamental need of eating, for example. Okay? That is the end of the work. But you can do that also to be well considered by the people. And in the Gospel, Jesus said, they play trumpetists, no? Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, look at me! You know, you can do that. You can do that also to get rid of that woman. Yeah? The judge in the Gospel, he was tired. The woman was knocking at his door. Finally, he said, okay, I will satisfy you. To get rid of. Sometimes people, they give money to get rid, to get rid of the people. That is the finis operandis. So, in every action, I can have the action itself, and also the motivation added to my action. And it is very important. Why? Because sometimes the motivation can change the quality of your action. You can give $5 in charity. If you do that in total humility, you know, well, if you do that, look at me. Huh? So, vanity. Of course, the vanity does not destroy your act of charity, but it furnishes a little bit. Huh? A little bit, okay? So that is Philis Perant. Okay, next page. Okay, I explained that already. I play, for example, I can play music to produce beautiful sound. Huh? I can play music to win the contest, that's right, to make money. You know? So I can play the organ at church to accompany beautiful celebration, but at the same time, you know, I'm not an angel, I have to eat. Huh? So happiness now, a word about happiness. The problem of man's ultimate end is not easily solved philosophically. Yet there is an overall good of a human action, an ultimate end that is only an end and not a means, and must be loved and sought by itself alone. In fact, the ultimate end, to be ultimate, cannot be used as a mean. It is the final, and nothing is after that. When an end is not a final, it can be used as a mean to attain the final, no? When you acquire science and theology and philosophies to become a deacon, become a priest, or to serve your community as a social worker, etc. Huh? It is an end, but at the same time it is a mean to attain something else. So the ultimate means nothing after, huh? Absolute. And because of that, that ultimate end is a cause. You remember when you study philosophy of God, huh? If the ultimate cause, and there is no cause, is the first cause, no? So that means that the ultimate cause of our action, at the same time, is the first cause. That is theology, it's no more ethics. Huh? But it's interesting to see here ethics joined with moral theology, philosophy of God. In fact, in philosophy of God, you remember the moral proof, huh? The moral proof given by Kant, huh? And St. Thomas. We start from the obligation to arrive to God. So the ultimate, it is the ultimate. At the end, I attain the perfect good that is God, but it is also at the beginning. Is the Alpha and the Omega. Is the one who at the same time is pushing and giving me, making me tending toward the perfect good. Voluntas ut natura. It is in my nature, given by God, created by God, to tend toward, necessarily toward the perfect good. So that, don't forget, and the end is at the beginning, the end is at the end. So if I'm tending toward the ultimate end, because that ultimate end was at the ultimate beginning. Okay. And it is the same. Okay? So happiness, secondly, yet there is an overall good of human action, an ultimate end. I explained that. 3. Philosophers are in verbal agreement concerning the comprehensive good sought by men. All men seek happiness. We can say there is, all philosophers, they say, yes, we are searching for happiness. The problem is, what is happiness? For someone is pleasure, is money, is hedonism, huh? You know, hedonism, pleasure, carpe diem. Hedone in Greek means pleasure, huh? And there, carpe, pluck the day. Huh? That means you don't know tomorrow if you will live, enjoy today. Don't think about the future. That is the philosophy underlying capitalism. Huh? My interest today. We don't bother with the future. We destroy the planet, but no problem. It is for us now. Happily now ecology is fighting against that, reminding that yes, it is for us and for those who come after us. Sometimes the people forget that. Okay, that ecology is linked with that a kind of putting the ultimate happiness in the pleasure. Pleasure of possessing, pleasure of dominating people is a pleasure to control. Pleasure of sexual lust, many kind of pleasure we can have. Today, don't bother with tomorrow. You know what the hedonists used to say, Epicurean, because Epicurean is the same current. They say, don't be afraid of death, because death does not exist. Death does not exist. Why? Because when you are still living, death is not there. When you will be there, and when you will be dead, death will not be no more there. So don't be afraid. Enjoy today. And don't bother after life, don't think about that. But in the Bible it is written something interesting. Think about your final end and you will not commit sin. Think about your final end, you will not commit sin. Because the final end, ultimate end, condition all our action. So I continue the text. This is intended to be a purely factual or descriptive statement. This, to be a human agent, is to direct oneself towards some end as perfective and constitutive of happiness. But the problem is to know what is happiness. So metaphysics can help us to know a little bit what is happiness, because we are able to go farther than our sense experience. Okay? Okay, I go now to page 174. A word about Father Wallace speaks about Aristotle here. You know, Aristotle influenced a lot St. Thomas in scholastic thought. So the first question is, Aristotle held that from the vantage point of view of philosophy, there is only one ultimate end, and that truly perfects the human agent. So he said we cannot have two ultimate ends. We can have only one ultimate end, and that ultimate end is the end that perfects completely the human being. So as long as we don't attain the ultimate end, we are not achieved. We are not perfect as human beings. We are perfect when we attain, by analogy, for example, a pianist, a musician, a pianist. A musician is, I believe, happy, completely happy, when he is able to play easily many kind of pieces, from work, from Mozart or from Liszt. He is happy. He is happy. He playing. He enjoyed that. That is, you know, he is perfect as a pianist, and as a pianist, he is happy as a pianist. Well, he can be unhappy in his marriage, but that is another problem. But man can be happy only if he is attained his ultimate end. Think about St. Augustine. How many people on earth are not satisfied? They have everything they need. They have money, they have pleasure, they travel, they have power. They are not happy. Why? Because only the ultimate end. And the ultimate end can be only one. And that ultimate end must be perfect, complete. Who is perfect? Who is complete? God. In fact, men tend naturally toward that. The end of man is God. That is that's a metaphysical reflection, but it is at the same time a moral reflection. Because if I have to adjust my life in order to attain perfect happiness, It's not only in my mind, it is my own action. All my action must be adapted to attain the end. You remember, the end is at the beginning, the end it is at the end. The end is at every step of our walk toward the perfect. In fact, if we accept that we are tending toward the ultimate end, to be consequent with that, we must say that ultimate end is at the beginning. And that ultimate end is at every step I am doing. You know, we saw that before, and we apply that to any end. If I go to New York, the end of going to New York is at the beginning, and it is every step I do, it is there. So it is the same thing for perfect happiness. If I am tending to the ultimate perfect happiness, that perfect happiness is acting on my will, it attracts me at the beginning. And attracts me at every step I am doing. If I am not walking toward that end, I am not moral. I don't act according to my natural tendency toward the perfect. Is there reason why so many people are not happy on earth? So many are not happy, and some are very happy with little. What strikes me in Africa, people are joyful, they chant, they dance, they embrace, they have fun, and they have almost nothing. And they are happy. But they have the essential. They have love. They love one another, you know, they live together, they are present together. Here we have money, everyone stay in his own tower with keeper, you know, sponsor, they are protecting them, etc. I don't speak about the Pope, that's not the same thing. He must be protected by... Okay. So the argument may be summoned as follows. Only a good commensurate with the agent can be perfective of the agent. That means, if I am acting toward the perfect good, I must be moved at the beginning by the perfect good. The perfect good is not only at the end, the perfect good is at the beginning of my existence, of my action, sustaining me into that. And that is linked with what we study in philosophy of God. Huh? God is the first cause, the ultimate cause, and He is present to everything, every action, all the time with us. And that is exactly what I told you when I spoke about the end. Any end is like that. The end is when the thing is accomplished, but it is at the beginning, and that end makes you all the time work toward the end. So, the end, if you say the ultimate end is God, apply that to God. God is at the beginning of that tendency toward the perfect good. It is He who makes us tending toward the perfect good. But we are free, of course, that is another problem. We see that next paragraph. Okay, now I continue. The specifically human function is rational activity. For Aristotle, man is a rational animal. What makes me human, it is the fact I am rational, I use my reason, okay, intellect. And the human good consists in the excellence of this activity. So for Aristotle, the most important faculty is the intellect. And man is superior to all animals, all the plant, etc., because he is intelligent. So the supreme, the conclusion of Aristotle, the supreme happiness will be in contemplation. It is when I know, I attain through my knowledge the truth, I will be perfectly happy. Okay? So I continue. Consequently, the human good must consist in the excellent or virtuous rational activity. For Aristotle, like for Socrates, the most important activity is the activity of the intellect. And Socrates, the error he did, he said, if we want to change the youth of Athens, we must teach them. You know, is it sufficient to teach someone to make him practice the virtue? No. And it is the error of UNESCO. I worked with the UNESCO 2 years there for a thesis. And you know, their theory is if we educate the people, there will be no more war. There's nothing. To educate in English means to teach. But you know what happened? It is worse than ever. Because the more you know, the worse you can be. Our ancestors, they used stone, slingshot. Huh? They use arrow. Huh? They use tomahawk. And today we use atomic bomb. We use on Dresden, huh? 250,000 people, they died in one night. Nagasaki. Huh? So knowledge is not sufficient. And that is the reason why Saint Bonaventure opposed Saint Thomas. Because Saint Thomas is in the line of Aristotle. For him, the most important activity is to think. But Saint Bonaventure said no. The most important activity is to love, to will, the will, you know. In fact, both are doctors of the church. In fact, we need both. Huh? We need both. Okay, I continue. Since rational activity is ambiguous, covered both by the activity of reason itself and the intellect, and the act of other faculties, because the other faculties also are sharing in the intelligence. How do you call the will? We call the will an intellective appetite. Intellective appetite, that means an appetite exercised with the intellect. So the will is also intellective. It's not the intellect, but it shares in the power of the intellect to know, because the will in itself is not the faculty that discerns, it is the faculty that decides. So we need both. Remember the analysis of St. Thomas, huh? We need the intellect continually, we need the will. Without intellect, there is no moral action. Without the will, there is no moral action. We need both. Like in a marriage, to have children, we need not 2 women or 2 men, we need a man and a woman. Common sense, my dear Watson. No? Sometimes we forget the common sense. It is because we are so intelligent, we forget that we have a common sense. It is in the Bible. God confounds the wisdom of the learned. Huh? Imagine that man is so intelligent that he said to God what he should do. We have a fable in France, maybe you have it in English. It is a man who was discussing about the nature of God. You see, you know, God was not logic. When he created the world, he created big trees like an oak, and he put it in acorn. Oh, if I have been God, I will have big pumpkin will be on the big tree, and the little acorn will be on the floor. And that man, after discussing with God, showing that God was not correct, he slept under the oak. And when he was sleeping, an acorn fell under his nose. He said, "How happy! God made a good mistake." Imagine if it was a pumpkin. Sometimes we are losing our common sense. It's incredible. How is it possible? We go to the moon, we are going to Mars, and we cannot have the common sense about elementarity. Anyway. The wisdom of God is not the wisdom of man. I continue. Insofar as they act, other faculty can be brought under the sway of reason. The excellences or virtues, St. Thomas called virtues excellences. So when you speak to a bishop, you say His Excellence. That does not mean His virtue. And for St. Thomas, excellences mean virtues. Okay? Like names means attributes. Remember that. The names of God, they are attributes of God. The excellences means the virtues. So I am sure that you have many excellences. I can say to you excellences, because they are filled with virtue. Not with money, not with power, with virtue. It's a program, huh? It's excellence. That we are a virtuous man. Okay. That constitute the good perfection of human are both intellectual and moral. So, in fact, we are intelligent and we are free. Because of that, our action, conscious actions, are necessarily moral. And I end by page 375. Therefore, in the context of moral virtues, man is not free to choose whether or not his happiness or perfection consists in prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude. That means we are not free. If we want to be happy, we must practice those four virtues. The happiness of man requires prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude. Prudence, perfecting my intellect. Justice, perfecting my will. Temperance, perfecting my concupiscible appetite. And fortitude, perfecting my irascible appetite. So in the natural dispensation, these virtues are so many articulations, means of the end that is given man, and alone perfect of him as a human agent. But the highest excellence, the highest virtue of reason for Aristotle is wisdom, St. Thomas also. And so the truest human happiness is the contemplation of the truth that can be known about the highest reality. Such a life of God-like, since it belongs to man only, because he is as intelligent like that of immaterial things. Man has the power to be like God and to attain the contemplation of life. That for Aristotle. Now for Christian, I finish by that. Christian ethics will complement Aristotle's teaching by emphasizing first, God is the true, final and ultimate end of all man's activity. And because of that, he's at the beginning also, don't forget, in all the time. Secondly, God alone is the supreme God. Good, there is not. You remember Plato. Plato said that the reality are the eternal ideas, and the supreme idea is the idea of the good. The good. Okay? But for Plato, the good was not God. And finally, the happiness of man must therefore consist in the contemplation of God himself, given in the beatific vision that is known through revelation and attained in afterlife. We can have that also through reason, because Kant, as a philosopher, proved that man is immortal, that man must attain God to be judged by him and to rewarded by him. But for us, we cannot separate contemplation. Contemplation leads to love. Admiration leads to love. Admirar means to look at, to gaze. So in fact, we can say, Saint Thomas will speak about the contemplation, Saint Bonaventure about the love. Both are together. Our intellect and our will are distinct, but they work together to allow us to attain the perfect happiness. Satisfying our intellect, satisfying our desire for the good, for happiness. Okay, you take some rest. I have some examination, some result to give to you. You can stop that and close that. At the end of the class, I will give you the take home for